confident 4 seed coming into the playoffs we've seen in a while.
True.
Although Origin over in the European LCS seems pretty confident as well, as they just qualified for the finals in 5 games against H2K. But maybe we're a little bit swayed by how heavily Team Liquid beat Energy in the quarterfinals, whereas CLG, they were substantially the higher seed in the regular season, a very strong record throughout all of it.
Yeah, last time the two teams met, though, it did go TL's way, and it was 1-1 throughout the split. And both these teams were looking up and up in the second half of the season. So coming into today, it looks like they're close to full power.
Yeah, that's an interesting ban we see right at the end of Trist from Team Liquid. Trist is a champion who saw sparing play very early in the season, but has pretty much had none of it since then. It could have just been a throwaway ban because Team Liquid wants to power pick a few things on the backside.
Well, this leaves a whole lot up. You leave up Kindred, Ekko, Ryze, things that are highly prioritized right now on this 6.6 patch, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a very early Ekko that TL goes with.
Because one of the big questions we've had is, what is Darshan going to play in the top lane? I think there are a lot of powerful top lane picks that can be split pushers as well as tanks and just kind of do both, but the S tier of that is Ekko. And the fact that there were 2 junglers you could have potentially played with a Nidalee and a Kindred that you could trade backwards, I'm surprised CLG did not first pick that Ekko.
Yeah, I'm also a little surprised that Poppy is still on the table as well, right? That's a champion that we saw banned away a whole bunch. But
Karma and Kindred, the first 2 lock-ins here. We saw Kindred being quite used in the promotion tournament and in other regions still, but for Dardoch to lock that in first with, as you said, so many other things on.
Yeah, it's interesting too because they're definitely not going for the power picks, and they may even be daring Darshan to pick Ekko top lane. And this Karma can also flex between mid lane or support, so Team Liquid is looking very heavy in the counter pick direction, as well as having targeted bans, which is actually not that normal of a strategy, but it's also not normal playing against CLG because they have had very unique champion selects throughout the regular season.
Exactly, and when you look at that Karma coming through and you talk about unique champion selects, Matt played it one time in that final game up against Energy, but they went on record saying, hey, we didn't have to show anything, but we decided to show something. So that could be part of the mind game here coming in. Where's that Karma going to go? They actually don't know for sure.
Comfort and Kalista locked in for Stixxay now. The Ekko does get picked up. So they will have that in the top lane for Darshan. He can go hard. He can control the lane. He says there's more to the split push. See if it's what they come to.
I think the Ekko is an absolute steal here, especially if they're going to be throwing Karma as a support and not having a support Trundle to shred the magic resist. There's still a chance that Team Liquid could do that swap, and there's also still a chance that Ekko goes mid lane, because we've seen a tank Ekko mid lane both in the promotion tournament in NA and also in the LCK.
And I really like this counter pick here with the Caitlyn. We saw the Kalista come through. Caitlyn immediately. Caitlyn Karma is the solo queue, chunk you out, win that lane. It's very impressive.
Yeah, so that kind of signals to me that Team Liquid is going to be looking to match lanes whenever possible, which is a tall task against CLG, but that is what their champion select shows, Zirene.
A lot of people have different says on what can happen if these bottom lanes match up. We are trying to see that Team Liquid counters that. They want the aggression in this one. We'll see if Stixxay and Aphromoo give it to him as the game starts. Still in picks and bans, the Ryze Janna fast switch as they lock it in.
Yep, so it's going to be Ekko mid lane. It could obviously be AP, but I'd expect it to be tank, or it could be the Ryze mid lane. It's actually swappable up until the last minute, which makes the counter pick incredibly hard for last pick Liquid. I think that's clever by CLG, and yeah, it could be a Ryze mid or a Ryze top.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go just yet, but with this last pick here for Liquid, you could end up picking Twisted Fate here. You could end up having global pressure over CLG, stop the 1-3-1 that they usually like to do. But CLG overall have a rather low wave clear composition here. It's a little bit of skirmish power with some disengage.
Gonna have to make sure they don't fall behind too far. Wave management could be difficult, as you were saying. And a final pick for Liquid is really what's on their plate. What will it be? LeBlanc seems to be a safe pick for FeniX in mid, one that he can also make plays on, as he's going up against, as we said, either that Ekko or that Ryze.
Yeah, obviously Team Liquid isn't able to do the research here, but I got to check the rune pages that the guys have gone with. It, to me, says Ryze mid lane, Ekko top.
Okay.
I think that's what they're going to end up going with, but they do have the option of switching and also changing rune pages in the last few seconds based on what the LeBlanc pick would be.
But this is FeniX's first LeBlanc pick of the entire split. We saw him play Zed, the assassin, in the last game against Energy. Now he's going more towards that assassin style. He did have a really good game on it, but he's been known as that high CS per minute mid laner this season.
And I think it's incredibly dangerous too, because champion select-wise, if CLG wants the best lane matchups, it's absolutely putting a tank Ekko who can rush a magic resist item really in the
they swapped it.
But they swap it back. They didn't change their rune pages whatsoever. That's what they wanted, and I feel like FeniX actually gets a decently good matchup into Ryze.
I heard rumors of this where in scrims people were swapping it back and forth until 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Trying to game you until then. Because now you have to change your rune page if you're up against something like an AD or AP.
Yeah. That's why these guys have 20+ rune pages that hopefully they prep properly.
You hope they have 20+.
Zeeks and Loco making their way off the stage. The teams now, it is up to them, the practice in the extended scrim blocks for these past few weeks. It all comes down to now. We want to know how you think the series is going to play out through the day. Stay connected on Twitter with the hashtag CLGWin or the hashtag TLWin to @LOL eSports, and we'll tally those up as we make our way into game. Ladies and gentlemen, we are hitting the playoffs now. It has already been an intense season that we've gone through, and TL looks to possibly make their way into the finals against defending champs CounterLogic Gaming for what could be the first time. We're into game 1 of the series, and we are on to the Rift.
Yeah, and we look at Team Liquid, 3 players who are in their first playoffs. CLG, also 2 players who are in their first playoffs. Even though Huhi was a substitute on CLG, I still count this as kind of his first experience here. And looking at the overall feel of these team compositions, to me it looks like Team Liquid adjusted a little bit more to CLG than CLG would have adjusted to Liquid. Having the Ekko top lane with the option to go tank is very much still going to be CLG having the chance of pressuring all 3 lanes, and it's going to be Team Liquid that are going to be having to keep up with that.
Yeah, and also the fact that it's the double TP for CLG, Huhi and Darshan. The 1-3-1 is a very capable strategy for them, and they can also just split push them down. So CLG get to play the strategy that they like to, and TL is going to have to try to get an early advantage with FeniX, try to assassinate, and it's definitely a different game plan here. We're seeing it's going to be hard to match.
We did say Liquid kind of wanted the matchup, if it were, in the bottom lane to start this one off, or the top lane if they can find which way to go. Piglet putting himself up forward a little bit to see if CLG may be hanging out at the turret already, but it doesn't look like they'll get any vision out of this one. No real deep wards placed either for that knowledge, so it's going to be a guessing game.
Yeah, and I see almost no situation in which CLG would want to be in an extended laning phase against Piglet and Matt. Even if you just look at the quarterfinals and didn't look at anything in the regular season, which would dictate the same thing, Piglet and Matt will crush that 2v2, especially with these champions. And in that quarterfinal against Energy, there was, in the first game, they took 2 turrets just out of the laning phase. Something CLG is definitely wanting to avoid.
And you can see CLG go for the invade here. They find them at Raptors, but they've already taken them and backed off. And Darshan's actually been able to get some CS down there. He's getting solo experience. Yeah. He's picking up some, whereas Lourlo was already teamed up with Dardoch doing the double jungle.
Yeah, that's actually a huge amount of experience that Darshan will get. It's that extension of the mind game. A lot of time you have the support going in late to harass the jungler and the top laner, and CLG actually did make a fairly meaningful tweak to that strategy, having Xmithie off on his own and Darshan off on his own, and now he's going to go catch up for that double jungle.
Following the path of Darshan, quite interesting to see how CLG kind of tweaks things from game to game, always being what we know as the team to rotate, out-rotate teams in the beginning with how they swap.
Yeah, potentially if they wanted to just do a straight turret push and then threaten the second turret, they would be way ahead on that because Darshan was getting the wave pushed a little bit to the side of Team Liquid first, but they are also taking this wave a little bit slowly. That's a big stack they have, and it's actually going to be relatively equal.
Yeah, it's going to be very close, except we're going to see the big difference here for me is Dardoch, he gets a mark on the Scuttle Crab on his side of the map, so he's going to have a stack in his favor. He's going to be able to go towards this red buff that hasn't been picked up yet and possibly get that as well.
Yeah, he's also way slower to the counter jungle side, but at the same time, it's not really going to matter, only because Xmithie's not going to go wandering down to that side of the map by himself when there's a potential 4-man collapse. The only way it would matter is if CLG recalls right away and then rushes out the bottom side, because they could technically stop Dardoch from doing Krugs, but I don't think Dardoch cares since he's already level 4.
And you can see that Huhi just walks up to Raptors and wards it. He's actually fairly pushed up. He decided to shove the wave up to try and get vision, and this is going to be a very interesting matchup for me because FeniX, he's known as that CS guy in the mid lane. Well, he started with the Dark Seal. He's trying to kill him. He has Ignite. He didn't match the TPs, and look at this.
Already a little bit of love.
That's a quality gank. I mean, Dark Seal can be a start just to make your potions more efficient if you don't respect the kill pressure of the other laner, which is true especially with early game Ryze. So while you can see it as a bit of a disrespectful thing, there are reasonable reasons to bring it that aren't just like, I'm better than this guy, I'm going to soul steal stack on him.
Oh yeah, it's totally fantastic to actually bring early on. And it synergizes with your potions, it synergizes if you go for a corrupting potion second. So we've seen that happen a lot in the top lane as well now.
Definitely unique though, for that as the first item. You see it very rarely.
Yeah.
Well, 30 CS, 219 in that lane, so Huhi not having flash up to 9 minutes is going to hurt even more for him on that Ryze. And it was a good pick by FeniX to take in the LeBlanc, even though first time for this split.
Right, but at the same time, Huhi could have played Ekko into that mid lane and had a favorable matchup. They've chosen to do this. That's a good start. Maybe they burn a summoner.
That's one way to feel real good about your lane. You go aggressive, and then they counter you. Xmithie trying to go for it.
Oh.
FeniX on the fast foot, though.
Oh, my God. He doesn't flash. He just knew he was going to dodge the spear. That's how much confidence. Because if that spear lands even after he flashes, Xmithie could get the execute, no problem. Worth since he dodged it, but that was a risky play to not expend flash.
Yeah, and he was already FeniX was already ahead in CS and in experience, so now he's just going to have to equalize that and walk back. So it gets Huhi pretty much back on the same foot, but still down that summoner, which we haven't seen exploited just yet. But if Dardoch does make a return visit, it's very hard for this Ryze to get out, especially as FeniX crests that level 6.
Yep. Rookie of the split. It's at 27-17 right now on that Kindred on his skirmishers at Saber, so he's going to be looking to fight quite a bit, obviously.
Yeah, it's going to be an early Rift Herald as well. TL, they love doing early Rift Heralds. They love to pick this buff up every chance that they get and give it to Dardoch and run people down lanes.
Yeah, this is really good for Team Liquid. I think a little bit of this has to come from the mid lane advantage and the jungle advantage that Dardoch has, because I actually feel like it's pretty rare for CLG during the lane swap to lose the Rift Herald and not get something in return. None of the lanes are pushed beyond the middle point, and that is essentially an earned Rift Herald from the lane swap advantage that Team Liquid gets within the first 6 minutes.
So the stacking for Huhi begins. He shouldn't really be putting himself in too bad of a situation with his flash down. Teleport is still up for a possible play to be made. They do have 2 over Liquids, just 1 on Lourlo.
And this is where the game's actually going to get very interesting, because the map has been opened with 4 total turrets going down.
Yep.
And the style of the mid laners is really going to have a large impact here. FeniX is the type to have a lower kill participation, but a much higher lane presence, whereas Huhi has stated, and it reflects in his stats, that he kind of loses mid lane, but he loves to impact other lanes. He's also brought Teleport on Ryze versus Ignite from LeBlanc, so everything is speaking towards that. With an opened map, usually you would see the roaming mid laner have an advantage, unless he can't ever leave due to the kill pressure from FeniX. And that's actually what it's looking like. Tier against an Ignite LeBlanc, Huhi is never going to be able to look at him and live.
Yeah. He'll try to farm. That's about it for now. He did pick up that CS from the help of the gank in mid.
Yeah, and CLG, they aren't a team that actually just sits on their hands. Look at this. As soon as they saw the 2-on-2 on top, they're just going to move their duo lane to the other side of the map. Put it on the side with Dragon. Put it all the way across. Don't go up against FeniX and Matt, who have these 2 champions that just try to bully you out of CS and bully you out of the lane. So,
and it's a game of cat and mouse, too, because you can see that Team Liquid is doing the same thing.
Well, they're backing now, too, on the side of CLG.
Yeah. I do also have to credit Huhi for catching back up in CS. He had to burn his flash very early, and then the gank Xmithie bought him enough time to come back. And quite honestly, early tier, no health crystal, in a combat summoner disadvantage, Ryze versus LeBlanc. Like, he should be losing that lane, but he's even in CS right now, which is a testament to how he's playing.
Taking the scary road, but he's trying to keep it safe so he can get that item built up.
Showing up here.
Aggression for FeniX. Looks like they wanted to start something, but too many members of CLG Gaming are actually on ward clear right now. These lanes opened up very fast, and they can't really find anything of it, but everybody keeps trying. It's not making them hesitate.
And that's one of the things that CLG is really good at, is when they open the map up, Aphromoo, regardless of what support he's playing, even if it's Janna, he roams towards mid lane, he'll roam towards lanes where you don't expect him to be, and that's one of the greatest strengths of this player, is he's kind of erratic in where he shows up. You don't know when you're playing against CLG, is Aphromoo going to be here right now? And you tunnel vision on a kill, and he shows up, and he actually turns the kill around on you. It happens all the time with this player.
And we actually don't know if Darshan's going tank Ekko or AP Ekko as of yet. He's gone double Doran's Ring into a Sheen, so that could still be an Iceborne Gauntlet into a tank build, or he could be going Lichbane into more AP. We've seen Huhi in the LCS before some of the Ekko buffs succeed with AP Ekko, so it's absolutely a possibility that he goes that route, because it's not like AP Ekko got nerfed and Tank Ekko got buffed in the last few patches. Both Ekkos actually did improve.
Yeah, and there really is not anybody on the team, save when Respite comes out, that he can't pop with that much damage. Nobody's going to be soaking it up. They're going to be deleted immediately. Huhi gets blue. He'll be able to stack up more. That'll be very nice for him in mid. His flash is also back up if they decide to make a play. There has actually been quite a bit of love given here to the mid lane. It's not the first time we've seen Aphromoo back and forth. They decide to back, though, so it looks like things will calm down for now. Little invade by Xmithie, getting some wards down to make sure they have tabs on Dardoch. And Xmithie's actually caught up in farm as well.
And this actually poses an interesting question, because CLG, they get middle turret very early on in most of their games. They usually take it before the enemy. I think it's like 67% of their games they take the first middle turret before the enemy does. And TL, they leave FeniX on an island. They're used to tower diving with 4 members and leaving FeniX by himself. TL, they're going to have to adapt a little bit here, because this is a different style from them.
Yeah, well, speaking of stylistic plays, Darshan is in trouble.
Wrapped around there, just walked all the way around.
Yeah, that was actually fairly poor positioning by Darshan. It was also a lapse in ward coverage from CLG. They are the team that has gone Tracker's Knife jungle versus a challenging smite from Dardoch, yet they did not have vision coverage for that Dardoch play. And now, during the regular season, CLG had the highest percentage of first dragons. Looks like they're going to lose it over to Team Liquid.
Yeah, TL, they're going to be able to pick this one up. Dardoch's had really good presence this game, and a lot of why that happened was Darshan's actually been running Lourlo around the map, and he's been clearing the wave, going to the other side. Lourlo froze top side, so they knew that Darshan was no longer going to stay in that top lane. He goes down to the bottom, and then they cut him off as soon as he crosses that halfway point. So that was a setup there from TL to make that play happen.
It's something we see just about every time that play kind of puts itself out there. They just need to take action on it. TL gets that first blood. I'm sure Darshan will think twice about the distance pushed out without those wards this time around. So one opening found by Team Liquid. They push it then into a dragon. We'll see where else they can go with this. They didn't really use that to get any forward wards, so we're still kind of in the same place.
Super good, though, for Dardoch. He's already at 10 stacks of his Devour with 2 marks of Kindred. So he's well on his way to scaling right now. And I know that Dardoch actually doesn't like playing Kindred. He doesn't like playing it, but it's super good. He's like, I'd rather play Lee Sin, I'd rather play Lee Sin into Kindred, so why do I have to pick it? But he's been forced to play, and he's still really good at that champion, though.
Yeah, well, when the team bans Tristana, you leave some of the powerful junglers up. You better be ready to pick that on the backside.
Looks like CLG will be able to get their mitts on the next Rift Herald going down to the map, so probably back to Xmithie, get him power farming through the jungle and get him pretty big here. Still waiting to see what CLG can produce in the way of a teleport play. So far, they've kind of been reactive to what Team Liquid has been doing in the beginning of the map. Hasn't led to too much of a gold lead, just about 700 or 800 in favor of Liquid, but they work well with small gold leads. So it could be dangerous.
Yeah, I think as far as who works best in even games, CLG does work very well in even games. Even though they were the 2nd seed in the NA LCS, they only had the 3rd highest gold lead at 15 minutes, whereas Team Liquid were the ones that had also a very high early game rating, but then had the 4th seed. I think a lot of Team Liquid's losses came down to poor mid-game decision-making, whereas a lot of CLG's wins came to very strong mid-game decision-making.
Yeah.
This game, it's probably going to come down to the mid-game since we're only 1,000 gold different 12.5 minutes in.
Yeah, CLG, they're quite good at the rotational game early on, but TL, they're good at the fighting, skirmishing game, and they try to force those opportunities. So late game, TL, they had those problems with decision-making. Matt would pretty much take every fight he could, and that's what they've been working on as rookies, is shoring up those nerves, making sure that they're picking the right fights.
And they also stopped having Matt on initiators. They started putting him on Janna and Karma, and they had fantastic results. They put the big tanky top laner Lourlo and just throw him in with Dardoch, and it's actually worked tremendously well.
It's instantaneous. So, oh man, Huhi.
It's a lot of chains that FeniX is landing. Every time FeniX lands a chain, he pushes Huhi off the minion wave, and that usually costs him a couple of CS, so that's grown into about a 14 CS advantage by this point.
CLG has Darshan and I believe Stixxay sitting on quite a bit of gold right now, upwards of 1,600, so they're definitely looking to keep it calm. Darshan will back, start filling out those items, Glacial Shroud and a few others. It looks like they may actually try to get something going here. It's been very quiet in the early game as CLG actually wasn't able to get anything but Aphromoo roaming, Stixxay roaming with him.
Oh, changing positions.
Yeah, either one of those guys wanted the tango.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the AD carry items here. Piglet went first item, Runan's Hurricane on Caitlyn. He had the Cole and he had the pickaxe. Normally you see BF sword into a Zeal item, but he decides pickaxe, I need to get these headshots in team fights. And that signals to me that they want to group up really soon. It's about maybe 3 minutes from now, 4 minutes from now, because that's the team fight item. That's not the farming item.
Could Runan's not also be used for the wave clear on Caitlyn?
It could be to just push it out.
Because this is such a shoved up game.
Yeah,
and
for Caitlyn,
also Stixxay has gone Hurricane.
Yeah, for Caitlyn, it's probably better to do so. Charges up your headshot in the team fights. Static Shiv is what we used to see, but people aren't really buying that too much anymore.
Yeah, a lot of the Caitlyn builds also index very heavily on crit, especially the ones we got to see in the promotion tournament in North America. You would see Infinity Edge and then 2 double Zeal items very frequently.
Minute 30 coming up onto Dragon. Little Darshan wants to hit up Lourlo, but he decides to back. He's just waiting for all the farm. What an even game. Really a lot of respect given from each other.
Yeah, I'm actually a little shocked that we haven't seen Huhi TP to a side lane where Darshan is trying to pick on Lourlo or something, because you can get those deeper wards down the lane. Like right there even, they had a ward in Tribrush. If that ward had been maybe by Krugs or something, then you can definitely make a TP play and get those early kills on Lourlo and exploit them.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the religious swapping we're seeing back and forth. Like Lourlo and Darshan have barely seen each other. It's one, you shove up a lane, you run to the other side. And Darshan is constantly up against Piglet and Matt, and then he has to swap back again. So add that to the fact that for most of the game, FeniX has had Huhi push into his turret, and there just haven't been many opportunities for CLG to execute that type of game plan.
Wow, so they ended up putting Huhi in the bot side, FeniX answered, and then the mid lane was just left wide open there for a bit.
Yeah.
It's like, who was going to change first? Oh, okay, TL did. CLG was able to react to it. They had been doing the same thing for quite a while.
Right. It's all about breaking the pattern.
Right.
Because this game had gotten into that pattern of the top lane and bottom lane swapping between the 2 lanes for so long. And CLG is the first one to change the pattern by sending a lot of people mid lane. Team Liquid was a little bit slow to respond and lost about 2/3 of their turret.
Like you guys were saying, figured those teleports would have come in a little bit earlier. Even with FeniX or LeBlanc pushing mid, you're not going to take a turret down too quick. But it seems like those openings are somewhat fizzling out here. There are a few deep wards that CLG could use if an engage comes down to it, but they're not looking to really get in the face of Team Liquid at any point in time. It would be a hectic fight for CLG. Mid lane gets a little more love, but it looks like with Ekko going back top, Darshan won't be putting that pressure mid, and maybe even Huhi down towards bottom. So it is going to be a charge-up moment here for the next few for CLG.
Well, yeah, you're talking about charge-up moments here. TL, Dardoch is at 25 stacks of Devour at 17 minutes. Dragon's up right now. If they secure this, then he's sated Devour at 17.5 minutes.
We saw
super.
We saw Proxen do this in the promotion tournament just the other day, and he then wreaked havoc on the entire game. Like, it became pretty disgusting. So Dardoch usually has it in him to make those plays, try to go all-star. He is the least in player, right? So
yeah,
he'll try for it.
I also think the fact that CLG is still sitting at 0 kills 17 minutes in and is down in objectives means that Team Liquid has just been in position to either counter the plays CLG is looking for or just not given CLG opportunities to make these plays. Like, this is a very clean first 17 minutes for Team Liquid because CLG was one of the best teams in the LCS at finding fights pre-15 minutes, and Liquid just hasn't given them.
Yeah, and a lot of that is off of the fact that...
Oh, speaking of which...
Oh, they might turn it.
They can if they want to. There we go.
Good howling game.
Not quite. But yeah, you're talking about how CLG finds all of these advantages in the early game. A lot of the times when they play this dance with other teams, the other team will trip, and then they exploit that. TL hasn't tripped this game.
Yeah, the only time they came close is when they gave up all this damage on the mid lane turret, and that's why CLG is returning here to try and push it down. But in the meantime, you've gotten a sated Devour jungler and 2 dragons for Team Liquid, so they're definitely holding the upper hand at this point.
Team Liquid, while holding well, it seems like they're kind of rushing to get this hold down in mid lane at any point. It seems like CLG will have the numbers to take that turret down. But you see Piglet and Matt doing their damnedest to hold it. Matt already upgraded Eye of the Watchers, so he's got a little more AP cooldown to keep wave clearing. And it seems like that turret's time has come. So TL backs. CLG just playing this one methodically until they can finally get it down.
Darshan's on the side here, but Dardoch is as well.
Piglet just makes it out of parallel convergence. Nice step. and they are able to take down the turret. But we've been waiting for one of those to go down for quite some time.
Yeah, and I think another reason that this game has been so low in kills is when you look at the two team compositions, neither one of them have surefire ways to initiate. The closest thing CLG has is hope that Darshan lands his parallel convergence, or have Huhi suicide in and get a very short duration route. Team Liquid on the same side, it's like a whole bunch of soft CCs everywhere. If Lourlo gets a wall stun, it's about their best way of initiating. So very good ways of these teams disengaging, not great ways of them actually engaging. So the main fights we'll see would be around, at this point, late game objectives, when we start getting Dragon 4 or 5, or when we start getting Barons.
Man, when they do get a hold of each other, though, it's going to be explosive. And I'm sure the other people will kind of just turn the other cheek and say, okay, that person got burst out.
It'll be explosive, and then Dardoch will put down his ultimate, and he'll slow down for a bit, but then Aphromoo will pop them off.
Yeah, the funny thing is both teams have to opt in, right? Just with the way these two team compositions are built. They're both disengaged team compositions. Team Liquid has the LeBlanc poke and the Caitlyn poke, and CLG has the Nidalee poke and the sustain to counter what Team Liquid would do. So they do have counteracting compositions here, and yeah, it's opt-in for both of them if they want to fight.
Yeah, that moment we saw just there, Matt blocking. Matt actually, no, sorry. Xmithie. Xmithie. Sorry. Xmithie blocking Matt's RQ.
That was a blocked recall.
Yep.
Oh, and TP though, there they go.
The TP was stopped.
Oh, that face call comes out. It's Matt and FeniX that get hit up. Whoa, they split right at the beginning. That gives FeniX the distortion to go for Aphromoo.
Huhi from behind.
But they turn off Huhi. He is Ryze. That's not the Ekko. Just remember, he's going to be out of this one. He's not going to make any huge plays on that. Remember, the route not as long, and they can't get anybody locked down.
All right, our observers were having a premonition. That was a blocked teleport in with an attempted double TP play from CLG. So now, since the double TP didn't work, the initiation wasn't as clean as they would have liked, and we saw the disengage and poor engage in action right there. Nobody dies despite a full double TP attempt flank from CLG. Gives them nothing.
Exactly, but Lourlo now has TP advantage. I'm actually surprised he didn't try to back off and then TP into that fight to try and clean it up with his flash and his E. But it looked like Darshan was just trying to stick it to him, make sure that he could get him with a parallel convergence if he tried to. But it would still be difficult. The cast time on it is quite long.
It was a good trade for TL to turn that one around. They prep mid turret for something that could fall very, very soon here. But CLG puts all their numbers towards mid. And even with low wave clear, they can still stop that. Rods of Ages charging on their side now. You see Xmithie has his, so they'll start to get even bigger. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty big Ekko still. Iceborne Gauntlet first item, but he is going tanky.
Yeah, he's going tanky, and he is not ahead of Lourlo in the slightest. Lourlo's also been able to go very tanky. Has also gone with the Distortion enchantment, so if they do get into that situation where we're seeing who can TP first, Lourlo will actually have that edge. I'm a pretty big fan of how Team Liquid has been able to neutralize Darshan, but at the same time, this is a 400 gold game.
Yep.
And I feel like at this point, Team Liquid's big win condition is getting Piglet a whole bunch of items and to continue to control Dragon. So with one more minute for that next Dragon, and no TP on either CLG person, that's another area Team Liquid can look to extend.
And another thing about those distortion boots from Lourlo, it's something that people don't put a whole lot of value on because they're normally home guarding from the base, but it gives you 3 seconds of 30% movement speed after your TP. And as Poppy, it gives you so much room to reposition and get that wall stun and cause backline havoc.
That extra movement that your opponent is not thinking about is really what it comes down to.
Another mark for Dardoch.
Yeah, that's a tough one to get too, all the way over in that jungle, but at the time the map was split in that side for Team Liquid. So that puts him at 4 marks of the Kindred thus far. Their attacks deal 5% of the enemy's current health as bonus physical damage.
I think he's going 3rd item Runance here because he has 4 stacks and he has the Sated Devourer. I just think it's a really good build to actually go forward. Usually you'll see the Moss, Sterix, but Dardoch, we've known him to be this carry, full damage Lee Sin player. So why not? Lourlo's pushing bottom, mid turret goes down. TL, they're splitting the map right now and looking for another drag.
Yeah, they do get the turret, but I do feel like this is where CLG is saying they want to stop the dragon. No, they're not going to do that. Huhi's running top without his teleport. It's Dragon 3. Maybe they try and force the Baron, but with Lourlo still having TP, that's probably not going to be able to be taken down quickly enough.
They do have Blade and they can rend it.
Yeah, they can rend it, so they're getting the stacks up very quickly. Rend will be about 2,000, so if that Baron gets below 2,000, they can secure it. It's at 4,000 right now, and Team Liquid's still not there.
TP in from Lourlo. He wants to eject him. Oh, it's rended on the way out. They say thank you very much and bye-bye. Aphromoo throws himself in to defend the team, and the Howling Gale may even save his tail on this one. He's going to go up and totally deny anything Liquid wants to do here. Kind of a valiant effort in getting Liquid nothing after they get there to the fight, and they're going to already start pushing on the side of CLG as well as they make their way out of the base with Baron.
1 kill for Baron in a Dragon trade is actually not that bad for CLG, and it's these slim margins that this game is going to be decided on. They had just enough time. Matt couldn't quite speed up the team as much as he would have wanted to get them there, and you're absolutely right about that Blade of the Ruined King and Kalista, not to mention Ryze being able to take that Baron down very quickly.
It's true. It was incredibly fast. I don't think TL was expecting to be that fast. Even Lourlo TP'd onto a ward in the mid lane instead of a ward in the pit. Maybe if he had done it in the pit, he would have had an opportunity to get them out sooner.
Yeah.
But he decided to go with the low-risk play. I mean, it's playoffs. It's your first playoffs right now. You don't want to take too many risks, especially in the first game.
Yeah, Aphromoo.
What so many saves.
Yeah.
As a support, I shed a tear.
He's alive now, and they keep the gold completely close. But at the same time, the win condition at this point for Team Liquid is still going to be that 5th Dragon, because CLG has not stopped that, and I don't know if they're really in position to leverage an advantage, even with Baron buff on 4 people, without the ability to actually engage fights.
Yeah, it's just going to be Piglet throwing out these traps.
Piglet can clear this no problem with his build current.
It's actually a Rune Dance Hurricane for Dardoch as well, so double Hurricane. Your wave clear is pretty good, actually, at that point.
No, it's going to be really hard for CLG to execute anything, really. Not to mention they're all going to have to build the token magic resist item because FeniX is LeBlanc, and they have already done that, which takes down their offensive potential a little bit.
Yeah, now they go back and forth between top and mid over and over again, and then Darshan stays top, Huhi stays mid, and then the other one TPs to where you actually find your numbers advantage here. So, and now Darshan's going to continue to push top, and then they'll walk back up there.
I'm actually quite surprised the Team Liquid isn't playing this more aggressively and getting wards in the red side jungle here, because that's where CLG is getting their advantage. They have free roam of this area with a little bit of pink ward control as well.
He's fighting Darshan.
Yeah. But they just do not see CLG going back and forth, so they're late to all of the moves. I think Team Liquid's strong enough that they could push to contest those wards.
Oh!
That's a big stun.
Chrono break, back.
It's going to be a push on the other side, though.
Yeah.
Mid lane's getting pushed.
Stixxay taking it down, Piglet. Oh!
By CLG. Ooh!
Huhi
Flashes and does not get the root onto Piglet as Piglet was netting away. Goes for the big play, doesn't get it.
Still trying to fight Lourlo. At least Lourlo can keep 2 in the top lane. They did lose mid, getting themselves stretched thin back and forth, and that's, if you go for by the book, that's CLG's by the book. Once we get this many turrets down, we run the other team through their own jungle back and forth until we have numbers up.
Yeah, and when we think about CLG split push, a lot of people think about, oh, it's Darshan just dominating a lane. No, it's really the whole team going back and forth between these lanes to try and get chip damage on these turrets. He doesn't have to smash that lane to actually play a split push.
FeniX, he is saying, I can get this pushed up this far and stay alive. Okay, that's enough. He heads back. Level 15 for himself. Pretty much even with what's around the map. Team Liquid hasn't, after the Baron, really been able to step foot out of the base. So we'll see what they can do here as CLG has that worn off. And we're back in.
Yeah, and one of the trickiest things for FeniX at this stage in the game is if he wants to do anything aggressive on the LeBlanc, he's running the danger of Huhi getting him with that instant cast Rune Prison and then have them burst him down. I think that's one of the big reasons we haven't seen FeniX getting the normal LeBlanc poke you would see down as they're pushing these turrets back and forth. So I think what you typically want to do is then throw him into a split push situation, but he's gone with the Ignite so he can't teleport in for the side wave, which is another reason this game is at a bit of a standstill.
Exactly, Jatt. And I'm looking at the items here from Huhi. He has the makings of what's either GA or he's going Drop Portal on Ryze. I assume it's GA here, so that if FeniX tries to blow him up, then he just comes back up and he's that stun bot.
I guess that's the strat. I mean, there's a much lower cooldown on the Ryze ultimate now. He doesn't get to rotate his spells as much. It has a cap on how many spells he can use during his passive. And, I mean, Piglet's got enough lifesteal that those Nidalee Spears do not matter anymore. That one does, though. 71 gold for Xmithie. 1
more minute on to Dragon. That's number 4. Something that kind of has to be stopped by CLG. They do have Baron, they have control of the map, but they have to be forced into a fight here if TL take it. The other thing here is Darshan could actually take control of that top lane and make that dragon fight very hard for Team Liquid.
If we just look at the map, it is trending in the direction of CLG.
Yep.
They have more wards out. They have a tracker's knife.
I think that's the same pink
pounding
ward that's
smite.
been there all game too.
Although Aphromoo just has a Sightstone instead of the upgraded Sightstone item that Matt has, so Matt can technically store one more ward.
And this is really good from CLG. You're talking about them splitting across the map. Well, now FeniX, without TP, has to go to the furthest lane away from that top side and then walk back and forth. You can't do that mid-top anymore as TL. Now it's going to be a numbers advantage if you try to stay here. And I don't think you can even duel Huhi and try to kill him.
And they get another turret on the top side. We talk about CLG split pushing tactics. Like, this isn't a Darshan split push, this is the team split push. And it's all about trying to have pressure in 3 lanes. That's what I talked to Zix about, whether they're still committed to the 1-3-1. He says, no, but we do want pressure in all 3 lanes. And Huhi's a little bit of a wizard here. I thought he was going to get ganked, but he's at least able to put up a harass. They're going to lose Dragon 4 for this, though, unless they fight.
Oh, you're a wizard, Huhi, but how good of a wizard?
What spells do you have?
Yeah.
Do they save you?
Dragon
Kindred
4.
takes Dragon. And TL looks to get into a fight here. Aphromoo there for the super save. Storm Shield. Monsoon goes out, but it's not going to be enough. And Liquid's actually been forced into a fight they only wanted for a little bit here. Matt's very low. Piglet doing damage from over the wall. Piglet with a triple. Looking for a quadra here. And it's going to be another one as he picks up Darshan. Piglet with a quadra kill.
The funnel in for CLG there, trying to stop the 4th Dragon when Team Liquid had the jump on them for it. They were trying to keep pressure up in all 3 lanes, but they stretched themselves a little bit too thin. And we're 30 minutes in here, and these are substantial death timers, and a Caitlyn who pushes very quickly. This is at least the inhibitor, guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to go at least to this inhibitor. They'll get the turret right here. They have a cannon minion in this wave. And looking back at that fight,
it turned into a 1-by-1-by-1.
It was the trickle in. It's that solo queue. Oh man, we're walking in 1-by-1. 4th Dragon goes over to TL, the threat of a 5th really, really soon. FeniX chunks out Huhi. Huhi's rather tanky, but they still focus down the Dragon. And then Aphromoo comes in during the Lamb's respite, and he can't actually ulti because it's just going to push Dardoch into the wall. So he waits until right afterwards, and he gets crit out, and then Piglet goes over the wall.
Aphromoo has almost no impact on the fight, and then I'm not sure what Xmithie was hoping to do. He jumps over the wall onto a trap and gets 2-shot by Piglet at the backside of the fight. But honestly, once the protection was gone from Aphromoo, that is a fight that CLG needs to bail from. But they continued to engage, and they paid the price.
I love seeing things like Defiance from Karma, that shield she gives, because then you see Piglet on another level with
another
that
Baron.
movement speed.
This one is even riskier. There's
Out of this
definitely
world.
Team Liquid being able to collapse here.
They don't like what that support can bring to the table. TL can get into that fight very, very fast. CLG pulls off accordingly. And Matt's going to make sure they have vision all the way down as TL starts to write their own here.
Well, he's actually hurting them to the side as they push down mid lane, which has that exposed inhibitor, and now they get to go towards the Baron.
Yeah, here's the thing. After that team fight victory, Team Liquid feeling pretty confident about their team fighting, and for good reason. Piglet with the Bloodthirster as well as the Karma Shields. There's not someone on CLG who can burst him down. So if they set up a proper team fight with Lourlo in the front, I see Team Liquid having a more than 3,000 gold effective advantage coming into this next team fight.
Oh yeah, and Piglet also got early fervor boots too, so he's actually making it so that he's harder to catch in these fights. Wow. He's just focusing on that. He's a huge just pile of gold for them right now, and he's been able to deliver all split long. Piglet has been an outstanding AD carry in the late phase, in the team fight phase. It's a different Piglet than what we saw last year, where if things weren't going his way, he wasn't getting those kills, he would tilt a little bit, but now, more focus here. Oh, it's so low! Will that caster minions?
They're going to be able to back
Darshan's
out on that
ultimate's down now, so they can just get it.
Right here, Liquid giving CounterLogic Gaming a taste of their own medicine, running them around the map to their base, back to Baron, and then as they were channeled once again into that blue side, right back to the inhibitor without a problem. Now to top side, as this was practically all prepped before, and Team Liquid open up the map for themselves. A 3,000 gold lead.
And they can place good retreat wards towards the Baron pit. A Kindred at this stage in the game kills Baron so quickly. CLG will have to immediately try and stop this one. Here's
FeniX
the teleport.
and the traps.
Darshan goes right in on a trap.
Good distortion in. Stixxay very low. He's got to be forced out. Huhi gets exhausted as soon as he hits the fight. Dardoch and Lourlo are low in the front in the respite. How can they get out? It's going to be the ult from Lourlo. It puts just enough members in front of them to secure the kill. And now they're on to Huhi. He's trying to dodge snakes left and right. The health bars are dropping. And here comes FeniX once again. The double distortion is up. And there goes CLG Gaming.
That fight was so good from Team Liquid. They pulled off all of their spells just the way you would want to. Lourlo, the MVP in that fight, with the Poppy ultimate at exactly the right time. CLG tries to re-engage, they get aced, and they lose the game.
Lourlo, rookie of this team as well. This guy just stopped and turned that fight on its head, giving TL this win.
Came in, was having a bit of difficulty in the split for himself. The whole team came together. We're now seeing the culmination of all that work here in the playoffs, and they are going to take game 1 of the series against CLG Gaming.
Yeah, we're a little bit more excited about that one than the players. They know this is a long 5-game series, and there's still plenty of games left. But if we look at this game in particular, Team Liquid was so controlled, and we knew that all the team fights were going to be opt-in and around objectives, and Team Liquid understood that perfectly, and that's how they got this game. Only one death in that entire 34-minute game.
And I want to talk about that top lane. Lourlo, not just MVP of that fight, though, because when we're looking at CLG versus TL, a lot of people are saying Darshan in the top lane, he's going to beat him. Well, it didn't happen this game. They were running them around the map. They were able to avoid that lane for a long time. And then even in the one-on-one, Lourlo held his own, even in gold, didn't get behind in CS, and then he contributed to these fights in immense ways. And this is the guy that we saw, Dardoch. You know, pressure doesn't seem to affect this guy. Matt, he's adapted to it. Lourlo was the question here. How well will he be able to play in these high-stakes matches? And it seems like the meta's favoring his pool, and he's doing a great job against Darshan today.
It was. We saw this guy come into the split, Lourlo, that is on a few champions, and we're saying, when can he kind of get off these few champions and make an impact rather than kind of be a tank and disappear from the top lane if there's a swap, right? And the things that the rookies have done across this team and the coaches have done with this team is showing itself now.
Yeah, it's been a long split for both of these teams, but specifically for Team Liquid because they had so much to overcome at the very beginning with a very poor start. But this game, you're seeing the results of a lot of that growth. Lourlo not being outmatched by Darshan, the team working around him, understanding FeniX's role. Even though he was on an assassin, he was still playing a very lane-dominant style, and then letting Piglet carry the game, right? He farmed, he constantly had pressure, he was always positioned perfectly, and that's what leads to a 12-1 victory.
It's something they do much more with Piglet now. They're so much more confident in him. He's much more confident in the team.
Piglet is good every single game.
We saw this at the end of last season for him, and it's really coming through this season.
Yeah, and I think TL fixed one of their big problems was they didn't have patience. They were very impatient. They would take fights that were not proper.
We need a lot of patience for this game.
This game was very patient. The complete opposite of the spectrum.
All right, now for a full breakdown of that Liquid win, we're going to check in with our analyst.